Hey, leaders. Welcome to the Happy Leader Podcast. I am your host, Coach T. Payne, and this is your weekly feeding for happy leading. I'm so ready to jump into this week's topic. And it is at least what is always told to me, or usually told to me when I'm about to enter into a new level of leadership. And probably you've heard it. It's this mathematical flaw that people give you, and they say, "Oh, you're going into leadership." Oh, okay. Well, you're going to spend 80% of your time on 20% of the people. Mm-mm. So I want to talk about that myth today, this normalization of dealing with difficult people and difficult situations in your organization as a matter of the majority of the preponderance of the time you spend in leadership. I want to dispel that myth today. And I want us to talk about how do we not do that. So this week, we're going to talk about how to handle difficult people without losing your joy. Because there is an art that comes with handling difficult people in your organization, whether they be a part of your organization or a customer of your organization. There is a way that you can, with joy, still deal with difficult people, right? If you don't believe me, let's jump into it. So I went into psychology today. I'm really becoming a big fan of psychology today. But it defines difficult people as those who display behaviors that cause disruption or distress in relationships due to manipulation, criticism, or passive aggression. Ugh, passive aggressive. Please just be aggressive or be passive. But like the combination of the two is a bit much. But even then, even with those type of people, I still want us to figure this thing out in leadership. How can we not spend the majority of our time on the small minority um, percentage of problematic things and situations in your organization? I didn't say problematic people because I think that's a bit too far. Most people are not problematic. They're managing different situations and their outcomes aren't getting you to where you need the organization to be. And there's processes for that. But I'm talking about how do we just not, how do we not do that? How do we not spend the majority of our time on the difficult part of peopling? That's what I call it. There's a lot of ways we can discuss it. So I'll pull from my lens. It's like my go-to is customer service. Like I am a customer service purveyor. I believe so, and I have seen that in my career. It's what I do, right? It's who I am, right? I'm a servant leader, and I am a customer servant. I'm not a people pleaser. And if you ever get a chance to talk, if we ever get a chance to talk in person or by some other means, and I can tell you about my viewpoints on customer experiences and customer excellence and how that really should work, then I think you'll be probably surprised, but pleasantly so. So, um, I think that I actually enjoy peopling a lot. It doesn't drain me as much as it does some people, but it can be draining, right? And I'm not trying to discount that peopling is hard, right? With all the grammatical error that that sentence has. So what we can do about it though is we can't avoid them because typically you get your fight or flight response when you're facing stress, right? And so you can't fight them, right? Please don't. And you can't run away. So you may not ever be in a situation where you don't get to, and I say get to, challenge yourself by handling difficult people, difficult situations. And I want us to talk about doing that from a place of joy, from a peace. It does not have to take you down because you're dealing with something hard or difficult. We had this one situation. I was in charge of the swimming pools, right? My team was. And so I was over the team that was responsible for the team that was responsible for the swimming pools. And we had this sticky situation where just my gut told me that one particular patron coming there, his actions were not, they weren't benevolent, right? I couldn't accuse and put words to it, but just my inside, my belief system, my thing inside me, right? He was telling me, I call him the Holy Spirit, right? He was telling me like, something right. My discernment was just like, something's not right there. And so I filter for all my biases, all my judgments, all my, things I know about myself because we talked about knowing yourself, leading yourself. And you could check out a previous episode that we recorded for you all about building trust fast in the organization, I talk a lot about the vulnerability and building that team of trust by exposing your own biases to certain people. Okay, so I filtered for all those things that I knew were tendencies for me that could get in the way of making a sound decision. In this particular case, the patron at the pool just seemed to be, he displayed predatory behavior, I guess is the best way I could say it. And I'm not an expert in what that looks like. I have no idea for real, but I knew what I saw. I knew what it wasn't, right? I knew what ain't right when I saw it. And I also knew that, okay, I'm a mom, and I at that time I had just had a baby. So like I think I was like extra mom, like it was my second child, but I was like on an extra mom mode. And so I would I made sure to filter for that by talking to my cadre of trustees to tell them that here's what I sense, here's what I think. I got a comment actually from a customer that triggered me to even start thinking about this. And I talked to them. So the good thing about building that trust fast in an organization, which I talked about in a previous episode, is that now I have a place to go to vet the decisions I'm about to make, especially when they're as sticky as the decision I was about to make, and I'll tell you about. And so I vetted it through them, and I said, and the good thing is too, they were males. They were a lot different from me. All the demographics, they were different. My group was different from me, and I love that so much because it helps to filter. It helps to make it right as can be. So I shared with them what I thought, and I shared with them what I saw. And I asked for a second opinion, right? So I got my legitimate number two in the organization to jump in there. And I also asked my husband, who had nothing to do with any of the organization, but just as another guy, as another parent, as another person, look, if you saw this, what would you do if you were me? And so all of that confirmed that, okay, I had a decision to make, and that it was easy for me. I banned the person from the pool. Now, before everybody goes up in arms about how, innocent till proven guilty, all of that is true. What I chose to do was say, excuse me, here's a letter for you that I issued a formal letter, and I said, there's been some concern with your activity in this public area. And until we are able to thoroughly investigate, please do not frequent this facility. However, you still have access to all these other facilities, and you can contact this number, this name, which was mine, if you have any questions, and I'm happy to engage. Well, that was fine for me. Now, the legal team that gives me advice was not with it in the beginning, right? They're like, you have no right, you don't. And I said, well, I have lots of options. I could just close the whole thing down then, whatever I got to do, because my instincts are kicking in, and I would rather be wrong about this and have to apologize and grovel at this man's feet as to beg his forgiveness than to be right about it and ignore it. So I did. But it didn't cost me a lot of time and effort, right? I met, I saw what I saw, I vetted it through my system that I already established, and we talked about in a previous episode, systems being used to mellow out the chaos. So I used the system that I already put in place, my trust system, my check and balance system, and then I took action, and that was that. Turns out that person really was predatory, and the law enforcement got involved later on, and so that was not that I wanted to be right, but I was thankful that I had the support system where I could take the risk. So, all right, another difficult conversation. It's all about the pool too. I guess it's an emotional topic for people, especially when it's like 100, feeling like 1,000 degrees outside, and you're looking at water and you can't get in it, and it's like, So I'm gonna tell y'all what I did. So I go cheerfully to my office one day, and this was at a different location, but I was still responsible for the people who were responsible for the people who were responsible for the pool on the installation. And so I'm like, okay, this is my life. I'm a pool person. And anyway, that means a lot to me that I don't know anything about the pools, but I figured it out with the smart people around me, like the chlorine and all the chemicals that go into it, all of that. So I'm like coming from all these other things that I was doing that day, and I'm like, do. I walk into my office and I feel this heat in there, like not from the summer heat, but like this atmosphere is shifted. And I was like, what in the world? So I make eye contact with my with my front office team because they know that, we're going to protect this space. This is an important space that we can thrive in. And if it feels off, like we would stop and address that. Like who's off today? Right? Like what you need to get it together because you're messing up our whole flow, right? What is it that you need? So we can get that done and let's flow. So anyway, this lady was sitting there in my front office area, and or actually she was in my office. So okay, time out. I talked to my team about like, how dare y'all let somebody in my personal space and you didn't warn me? You could have texted me and said, angry lady in your office refusing to leave. Like you let me walk into that. So anyway, I got to go back to the building trust episode because we didn't have it in that scenario because they let this lady stew in my office. And I'm like, my desk was junky, like all ugh. So anyway, I go in there and this lady is sitting there and she is red faced mad. And I'm like, okay. So I walk in and I say, hi, how are you? I'm Tamika Payne. Can I help you? And she says, well, yeah. I'm like, oh boy. All this stuff the commentary in my head versus what comes out of my mouth is like, they're so different because I am a customer servant, right? So I don't get to just give you back what you give me. I give you what you need because I know what you need. You're the customer. You don't know what you need. I'm the provider. I know what you need. So she was telling me in like this attitude, and she's like, talking to me about how last year the pool closed early and it had intermittent hours, and my children could not even enjoy their summer. And this year, you're opening the pool later than usual, and you put the hours out, and we're not going to be able to have as much time at the pool that we've had in previous years before last year's mess up. So a little note is I was not there for last year or any previous year. This was my first year with this pool at this place with this lady. That doesn't matter to her. So she told me so much more information than I needed to know. But her point was that she was not going to be able to provide for her kids the thing that she had promised them would be available to them. And it was my fault because I had made a decision to open the pool later than advertised last year. And last year was even later than years before. So one thing that is key when you're wanting to deal with difficult people and real quick is one, maintain your composure because why not? You know what I mean? Like you're dealing with their issue, not them. Usually it's not them. It's the stuff they're dealing with and you're the problem, you're the face of it. And that means you can be the solution for it. So I pulled out the piece that I could relate to, which was this mom was trying to give her kids something. And I'm like, I know that. I know what that's like. I want to give my kids stuff. I mean, sometimes I don't because they get too much. Okay, let's stay focused. But but she wants to provide something for her kids. And this is in the age that they were, this was like the one thing they could do without, costing a lot of money, without a lot of effort. And I had snatched it away from her. So I did the second thing I did after I kept the calm composure. I repeated to her what I think she was saying to me. And of course, a lot of things go into this, your posture, your body language. I also gave her cold water out of my refrigerator because it's hot, so I'm like, let's first deal with, you probably are thirsty, right? That might be the problem. Would you like, and I had nice water, right? I have nice water in my refrigerator. So I give her some water. And speaking of nice water, this is my water brand right here. We'll talk about it later, but I didn't have this water. I had another nice water. But so I give her water and, I keep oranges and stuff in my office and little snacks. I offered her those hospitality things, right? Because I'm like, maybe she's hangry and like the pool just happened to show up while she's hangry. So anyway, so she refused the snacks but took the water. And then she told me all this stuff. It didn't cool her down. She was still heated. So I repeated to her the one thing that I thought I could fix, right? There was a whole bunch of stuff and some stuff like I can't get into it with her and we're not at the position to do all that. And some parts was like, I'm not going to explain that to you because like, that's not your concern. It's not really your issue. It's mine and I will fix it. But then there's the thing that she really like needed me to fix. And so the thing was like, open the pool for my babies. So I started with, okay, what I think I heard you say. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. One, like, it's hot. I'm hot too, right? And it sucks. I agree with you. Like, I see that the pool opened later, and you bring up some really good points, like 100%. do you mind if I tell you a little bit of what went into why we have to do this? Because you should know, just like me, I got kids too. They want to go to the pool. I want to go to the pool. But so if it was any way possible to do it sooner, like trust me that I would do it sooner. But here's some of the stuff that we're balancing. And in that case, I just gave her like a surface level of the issue, which was staffing, right? So it's like the timing of the staff, and it was either open late or close it early. And I thought like, let's get some more time later into the summer, versus like, let's get the time right now, because people still got stuff that they're doing at the beginning of the summer. They still got activities that they're finishing up. Sports was still going, but towards the end of the summer, it's something to look forward to. We could do a big pool party and all this stuff. So I explained everything to her, and she was a little bit more calmed down about it. Her tone changed at least, and her posture, changed a little bit. And so I said, listen, I won't be able to fix this for you today, but here's what I can do. I can get you guys some free passes to the pool. And that way I want you to, but in exchange, could you help me out? Right. So I gave her some of the responsibility. Could you help me out? So we've instituted some new things. It hasn't been released yet, right? Again, giving her a little secret, but we're going to have this new snack operation, because we're going to hire some teenagers to run it. And we just want to see how that goes. We also have a new contractor that's managing the temperature of the water. So if you don't mind, here's my cell phone number. Just send me a text anytime you think about it, to give me some feedback on how things are going out there. And I would appreciate that. And so now she's like, oh, because she wanted to tell me what to do, right? She wanted to, on her mind, she came in there to give me a piece of her mind and to tell me how to do it. And so I'm like, well, let me see how I can get her there. I get told what to do by people all the time. I deal in customers, right? So me giving her a piece of this responsibility of it's a swimming pool, so it's not a dangerous thing, like by itself. But I could give her something. So she left out of there with not the answer she wanted, but she had a win. She could go back home and say, I went over there and I talked to that commander and I told her this and this and this. And, I got us some free passes, and any problems y'all have, tell me, and I'll go direct to her and make sure she knows to fix it, right? However she needs to spin it is fine with me. So I didn't spend a lot of time. Like, I took a lot of time walking you through the details of it, but that interaction was probably, I don't know, like 20 minutes. And it yielded so many dividends later. She did send me once a note about something. It was really small, right? And I didn't take it for action. It was nothing really to do. It was just her, I guess, like reaching out to say, hey, you told me this, and here's something. It was something about how to access the facility. I said, cool. I'm gonna send that to my peeps and see if that's something that they can do a little bit better. Appreciate you. How's the pool? Right? She's like, oh, things are great. I'm like, okay, your kids enjoying it? So we had a couple text message exchanges. Took me 3 minutes to text her. Right? So we don't have to spend the preponderance of our time on difficult people, and we don't have to lose our joy if we decide not to. Just don't. So some things that I do when I keep joy in dealing with difficult customers, and this also translates to people on my team, right? Sometimes your teammates are difficult, period. And so, and sometimes you're difficult as a leader, right? And so you want to have grace given to you when you're being difficult, or when you're causing, the problems in the organization. Sometimes it is you. Sometimes it has been me that's been the problem in my organization. But guess what? I can take that and I can change it, right? So, but what I do is, one, I make joy my priority. Like, I'm gonna have some joy. I'm gonna be happy about this, and that doesn't mean I'm like excited that there's a problem. I'm excited that there's a problem, and this person thinks I can fix it. So let me see if I can prove them right. I usually say, and I believe it, I got the smartest people to do this. So let me see what we come up with. Because we're the experts. Like, who knows in this situation, who knows the swimming pool is better than my people? Nobody. So if there's a solution in there, it probably can be found among my people. So I hear them out intentionally, and I look for a place to relate. Like I did with the second example I told you about the lady. I just look for how I can relate. Like where in it, I'm listening on purpose without interrupting to find the part like, oh, okay, I can relate to that part. And I put on different hats. I siphon through all the different layers in my head of like, okay, I can't relate. No. Oh, okay. Yeah. I can pull that one. I've been, I'm a middle child. I can pull that. Or like, I'm hot too. I could pull that. I'm a mom. I could pull that. Or I'm here. I'm in the same situation you're in. I could pull on that. So I look for the place of relatability. I found that in disagreeing anyway, that's how I've learned to handle it. There will be places where there's just so much disagreement that all we can agree on is like some basic truth, some basic fact. It might not even be a truth, it might just be a fact. And I stay right there with that person because in the end, I want the relationship. And so I sacrifice the being right or the convincing them in that scenario, in that situation, just to try to, like, what's the minimum we can agree on? And I've said that to people where I say, you know what, we're not going to get too much further. What's the minimum we can agree on? So I can meet you right there. Right? Do you think that this is the case? And when they say, I do that until that person says, well, yeah, I say, okay, let's just pause right here. Let's shake on it that this is where we agree. And then I don't know how, but let's figure out another time to get to the part that we don't agree on, but only the part that we have to fix. If we don't have to fix it, then let's just be right here where we agreed on this one thing. And usually that person's like, okay, fine. Also, remember that it's a human being on the other side of whatever words are coming out. That's hard to do. Like when lady is like elevated voice in my territory, like this is my space, and you coming in here, But like you got to put the ego down and put the pride down because meekness gets you a long way with your team too. So, because they know what your wrath looks like, right? Like your immediate circle, they know what the smoke look like. And so when you reserve it and only like show it when it's absolutely necessary, then you establish some credibility with your team and you model for them how this is done, how we do it here. Another thing that what I do in dealing with difficult people is I remind myself that the price of leadership is this, right? If you want to be the person responsible for and responsible to many others, this is what it costs. I once heard someone say that in order to be a servant leader, you gotta have some doormat tendencies. And I don't think they meant that in any derogatory way. They just meant that you have to master humility and you have to master meekness if you want to truly be a servant leader. And that's what I want to be. So, and then also I kept my joy with that lady because I was proud of her. I was proud of her for putting on her big mom pants and storming up to the top, whatever she thought the top was, and demanding some change. I'm not going to be mad at her for that. And I told her, I said, I think it's good that you came up here today, right? People need to advocate for the things that they want to see here, especially where I'm concerned and where I can influence it. So thank you for coming up here. I wanted to be like, well, I mean, it would have been better if we made an appointment and I could have planned for you, but life doesn't always come by what's scheduled. Sometimes it's just what's happening, right? So let's ask some real questions for you. Who am I let steal in my peace and my joy, in my leadership, in my difficult leadership time right now? Who did you give that power to, right? What standard did you lower the price of your joy and your peace to so that somebody else now controls if you have it or not? Mm-mm. The second one is, what boundaries to protect my job do I need to set or enforce? And I say your job, the boundaries that you need to set in your leadership experience. What boundaries need to be there? Sometimes you're dealing with difficult people too much because you put too much into that and you didn't set boundaries, right? You didn't. So let's get to your happy place in this. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about how you deal with difficult people and make a decision. First, think about how you deal with them on a usual, normal occasion, right? And then I want you to detach your identity from their opinion. A lot of times we find ourselves roping ourselves and yoking ourselves to the opinions of those who are difficult in the organization or when you have a difficult experience, but that's a falsehood. It's a non-starter for you. You lead differently. And their opinion is not your identity. It's simply their opinion. They could be right about a lot of things, but what they cannot do is define you because of what their opinions are about what you produce. So Brene Brown's trainers that I mentioned, they taught us something. And they taught us to get this little tiny corner of a piece of notebook paper. All right, y'all know what notebook paper is still, right? Get a little tiny piece, like the corner of it, and write down the initials of the names of people whose opinions you will allow to matter to you. That was freedom for me because I went into some difficult conversations and some difficult situations. And I came out a little bit bruised, and I pulled out that little tiny piece of paper, and I had it in a particular place in my desk, and I opened it, and I saw I won't say how many initials up there, but the person I just had that encounter with, initials were not up there. So that helped me to process, leave that there with them. Let me move forward to what these people would think about me in this situation, because these are the opinions that I weigh heavily in my life. Okay. The other thing is respond, don't react. If you're still in a stage of, I think it's immaturity, where people can get a reaction out of you, come out of that, right? Lead higher. You should be able to give a response. Reactions, I think, have a place, right? There's a place for all things in leadership, but it's not usual that you need to react. Reactions are to make the explosive point about something. And I don't know that, I know I do it, but I try not to. I try to have a ready response. That way I have credibility with myself too, but then I don't spend so much effort and time dealing with the aftermath of a reaction, because I spent a little time on a good response for the difficult thing, right? So let's agree that keeping in joy and dealing with difficult people can both happen in your leadership journey. I want you to believe that, and I want you to internalize it. I hope this episode has been helpful for you for your weekly feeding for happy leading. And until next week, happy leading.